Hey guys, it's Sam, and today's video I'm going to be critiquing Pepper's art. No, not that kind of Pepper. There we go, that kind of Pepper. She sent me a digital art piece of both a drawing and the book cover design version of that drawing. So, let's get into it. Okay, so here is the artwork, and holy crap, first impressions are just girl. This is amazing. Okay, the colors, I know you get this a lot, but really you are very, very strong in colors, and I'm actually kind of envious of that, not gonna lie. Very, very strong grasp. I love the color scheme. I love how you use the colors too, how you have the sunset with the background, and then you kind of duplicate that on that. I should get like a, hold on a second. How you have the yellows to the blue, and then you have that over here too, the yellows to the blue, and that just creates this really nice frame, and it just really gets the focus to be right here, which is definitely where you want it. So thumbs up, very good job. I know you mentioned that you were ready for contrast crits, but I mean, honestly, I don't really have contrast crits for you. Like, I think your contrast is actually pretty good. Now making it black and white, you could perhaps strengthen some things in terms of the light, but I think your darks are pretty good. I mean, you could maybe push it like a bit more, but I honestly don't really think it's probably as much of a problem as you seem to imply when you're like, I'm ready. Let's go, bring it on. But I mean, you could push it a little bit more, I guess. But I don't know how necessary it is. I think your contrast is pretty darn good already. The focus is on the people, which is awesome because that's what you seem to be aiming for. And just the having that light behind them, behind both of them, because you had this separator right here with the city, and then you had the yellow coming up from that and coming down from that, and you putting them both in the yellow spots. That was very smart, very good. And I also like the crisp outlines that they have. I know some of the stuff looks a bit more soft, like in the background, which is good because it should be more out of focus. You don't want that to be the focus. And I like that the characters do stand out so much because of that. The building, I love the building. And I love all the little details, the little plants and growth and the scratches and the texture. I like that a lot. I think that helps go with the whole, a bit of an apocalypse theme that you have going here. And same with the angle of it. I think you mentioned before that some things would look a bit strange because you're trying to make this a book cover. But even with just the drawing by itself, like ignoring the fact that this is a book cover, like I think that this building looks just fine. And I actually like that it's broken and it's at this angle right here, because I think that just makes you feel uneasy and nervous or anxious, uncomfortable. And you have these characters trying to climb this thing and it just feels unstable. So you already have like these concerns. And I think that's really helping to set the mood. And based off of the description that I read, that matches very well. Another positive is you filled in the space very well, like everything is pretty much taken up. And that's not always necessary, but I think it works rather well for this. And I think you have the focus down, like this is crisp, which is good, and this is not as crisp, which is good. Now for the things that could be improved, in my opinion, which I know you were most looking forward to this section, the thing that stood out to me the most is the buildings in the background, these. And I know I'm a bit like biased because you've told me, and I was kind of there, that this is a last minute project and you didn't really have time to just perfect things and refine things and work things out and everything. But to still critique that part anyway, just to kind of get that information to you, just the perspective feels a bit off, the way that the roofs kind of slant. Like, I don't know if that's like what the roof is supposed to be, because I know there are some roofs that have like that slant, and that's okay. But it's kind of hard to tell because some of them look more flat over here like you were going for like stereotypical skyscrapers, which is kind of the feel that I'm getting with this one, because I mean this looks like a skyscraper and these ones kind of look like skyscrapers. It just feels a bit odd to have these ones over here to have like a pretty drastically different roof, implying like it's implying different either shaped roofs or different perspective. But again, like I know you were kind of in a rush, and I also, it's kind of unclear if these are like, this one looks like it is supposed to be slanted. And yeah, so that's kind of, I'm just a little bit thrown off in terms of the perspective is all. Another thing is this right here, this little thing you got going down here. I don't actually know if it's supposed to be a river or a road. My guess is a river, just because it kind of has like this flow to it. And I like the flow, and I like that it kind of, that it all matches, and it just has this nice smoothness to it. And there's not like a line going this way when everything is supposed to be going that way. So that's good, but it's just a little confusing just what exactly it is. And that might be because of how the lighting is. I like right here, but it's kind of, because the sun is over here, right? So the sun would have the most reflections over here. So I think it might help to just try and see if you can find reference photos of rivers and just kind of identify like what it looks like, because I've done this mistake too before with light and reflecting in water, where I mean it really only reflects in certain areas where it would get that direct sunlight. Like for example, if you have like ocean water and you have a wave, then and the sun's like over here, then like this tip is going to get it, and that's going to get like the brunt of it, but then the rest of it would kind of be in shadow. So just something to think about to help make this a little bit clearer. And this next part is going to be a touch nitpicky. The more I started looking at this picture, the more it just kept standing out to me, which is the stars. And I guess kind of zooming in on them, they're a little bit more blue than I initially thought, but they kind of look white the way that they are now. And I think that kind of clashes with the color scheme you have going, because you have these strong warm colors, and then you have the purple and blue, and you use that everywhere and it looks fantastic. And then you have these stars which just look white, and they just really stand out to me. And I think it might look better if maybe you tried changing it to be more of a light yellow instead, because some of them look like you went with blue, which I think is okay, especially for ones that are supposed to be distant. I like that. It's just for like the especially bright ones, that one might kind of be okay, but like the ones up here that they just look white, and it just, I would try yellow and just see how that looks. Okay, so you also sent me this version, which is the text version, and quick disclaimer, in case nobody knew, I am not a book cover designer. I'm not really a graphic artist, so I'm pretty noob at all this stuff. And if you've seen the cover of Angel, I mean, like, you know, I'm still trying to learn this stuff myself, so my crit's not going to be like as strong here, and it's kind of just going off intuition more so than what actually works. So I'm going to put some links in the description to some articles that I found that talk more about it from people who actually know what they're talking about, if you want to read more on that. But here we go anyway. If you haven't already, I would highly suggest going through other covers in the same genre of this book. I looked up teen apocalypse on like book covers on Google Images. It's less so about the artwork. I think the artwork is just fine. I'm talking about the actual graphical elements, like the text and everything, and just how it works together with the picture. I think looking at other book covers of the same genre of the book, like that's really important, can help get you like an idea, like not to copy them, but just to increase your visual library and actually see what professionals who like this is their job, to see what the decisions they make, and see if you can figure out why things are the way they are and everything like that. Book covers are like the thing for books, because when you're walking through a bookstore, those are the first things you're going to see for any book, and it's going to be your first impressions. I think the artwork does a fantastic job for this description. I think it more comes down to the title and the story by kind of thing, and then the back, and just this things on top of it, because you want your title to be big, legible, and noticeable. I think this is pretty good. I don't really know exactly what kind of tips I could give you that would really improve it, because again, this is not my area of expertise. Like, I think you have some really great contrast that you're using this yellow and orange and you have it against that blue in the background. And it also matches the color scheme. Like, even with the outline, you have that bluish purple. And so everything is like harmonious, and that's really great. I've seen some covers that have their font and their text with like a pretty drastically different color scheme than the rest of the cover. And I think it really just depends, but that might be worth also playing around with too, just to see what it would look like. I'm not necessarily saying it would be better, just obviously the more you experiment and play around with, the more you can find out what works and what doesn't. So I would maybe recommend making the title just a bit bigger, or just playing around with the size in general. I'm kind of iffy on the size of it right now. I would just probably play around with size a little bit. I know it's kind of hard to tell because it's on screen instead of on a book, but it might also help to print this out on the actual size cover that you were thinking of. Like, so if this was supposed to be like a 5.5 by 8 book or something, then try and print it out at that size and then cut it out and fold it. And you can maybe fold it around another book that you have, and that might help you also have like that visual, like it's in your hands and you can really evaluate it much better. I'm also tempted to say to play around with the size of the author and the artist down here, because like the title is the most important thing, but like this is pretty important too. So I would probably play around with the size. I like this font. I like the color of it. I'm a little iffy on this font just because I don't know if it gives me that feel of like the post-apocalypse sort of danger, survival type thing. I don't know if it really fits that theme. Like, I like the lettering. I think you did a good job. I'm just not so sure if it fits the theme of the book. So I would maybe play around with a different font. And if you want, just try and like a bunch of different typefaces. Like, I know that you hand drew this, but trying with different typefaces also might give you some ideas of what to do. I really like the spine. Don't really have many comments on that, but just to keep in mind, like in case you might forget, like if you do change this, then you'll need to change this too. Like if you change the font of this, then you'll need to change the font of that too. Another super nitpicky thing is the placement of your little description. I think the description itself is fine. I like that you have that transparency with the background, because like the background is freaking gorgeous, and yes, I want to see more of it, please. But I would probably move this up, just because books typically have their ISBN barcodes at the bottom, and like for example, because I was self-publishing, they had a template that I downloaded, and they forced me to leave a space for the ISBN code. So just something to keep in mind. I would probably raise that up. And then maybe just an idea to throw out there, add a quote or just something, just because it feels a little bit empty-ish. And I think having a quote also could help kind of get people into the book, like something that's important to the book, or something a character says or thinks that is a big deal or something. I don't know. But all in all, I think this is a really attractive cover, like legit. I could totally see myself going to the bookstore, and if I saw this on the shelf, I'd be like, ooh, what's this about? And like pick it up. I think like it's really good, and just the artwork itself is just fantastic. And I am looking forward to seeing more artwork from you in the future, because you are awesome. So yeah, that's it for the critique. If you'd like to see more of Pepper's art, I'll put links in the description to her social media pages. Hopefully you guys found this helpful, and hopefully Pepper, you found this helpful. If you guys would like more art tips, advice, tutorials, and such, check out my Patreon page, link in the description. And if you'd like to check out more videos from me, you can go ahead and click on your options over here, or in the card up at the top. So thanks so much for watching. Bye!